morning, everyone. I think I have a different reason of thanking Jay and Uni, and that is that at least they gave me a topic which I had heard earlier. So I didn't have to really, tax my head so much. Well, as we all know, macular edema is an important cause of reversible visual acuity loss. However, there are instances when we encounter paradoxical visual acuity change, which is defined as worsening of visual acuity despite resolving macular edema, or the reverse, where you have an improvement in visual acuity despite the worsening of edema. So this is found in a significant number of our patients. And there have been various factors which have been thought of which influence the final visual acuity recovery, such as the epiretinal membrane, the cone outer segment tips, subretinal fluid, small hyperreflective dots, which we have been discussing, the large irregular hyperreflective foci, which are suggestive of hard exudates, intraretinal cysts, ELM, and ellipsoid zone disruption. So drill also is one of these risk factors and which have an influence on the final visual recovery, and it represents the horizontal extent in microns of the disorganization within inner retinal layers responsible for relaying visual information from the photoreceptors to the ganglion cells, so that no boundaries between the ganglion cells, IPL complex, inner nuclear layer, and outer plexiform layer can be identified. So central 1 mm of the foveal area is primarily used to measure the extent or the horizontal extent of the drill, and it is a potential biomarker for edema secondary to diabetes, pseudophakia, vein occlusions, uveitic, and several other causes of macular edema. Now moving on to what exactly is thought to be the pathogenesis of drill, well, the neurosensory retina is said to have a degree of elasticity, and as the fluid pools within the elastic limits, the continuity of bipolar cells is maintained and the synapses, they remain viable. So this is a good situation. But if this edema increases the retinal thickness beyond a certain elastic limit, the bipolar axons snap and they cause a disorganization of the inner retinal layers with loss of visual information signaling from photoreceptors to ganglion cells and leading to drill formation. So the bipolar cell destruction may not be completely reversible and potentially accounting for some of our eyes in which visual acuity does not recover even after the resolution of macular edema. So it is basically thought to be a compromise to the inner retinal circulation that seems to be partly reversible. So presence of drill is thought to be an indicator of retinal ischemia, and if I would say macular ischemia, and it has found to have a specificity of 100% and sensitivity of 84%, though its absence cannot rule out ischemia. Now that is something important for us to know, that if you have absence of drill, it does not rule out macular ischemia, and you may have situations where it may be present in the absence of drill. So the area of macular ischemia on OCT A scan is said to correspond to the length of drill on OCT B scans. Now, if you see this particular image where you have the FFA, I don't think this is working. So on the left side, you are having the FFA images. And what you see is that you have the central green color box where this is the area which has been scanned on the OCT. And what you see over here is the green vertical line where you are having the demarcation between the perfused and the non-perfused area. And if you see on the OCT scan again, this area is having very well-defined boundaries between the various retinal layers, while here you can hardly demarcate the boundaries. And this is corresponding very well to the perfused and the non-perfused area, which you see on the fundus fluorescein angiography. Now, when I say that drill may be absent while you still may have a ischemia on FFA, what is the reason for that? So there are two theories which have been suggested for this. One is that the retina did not suffer significantly for inducing the changes to be manifested as drill, and the second could be that the adaptive processes may have been sufficient to maintain the integrity of the retinal structure, and that's why it did not lead to the formation of drill. When we come to imaging, how are we supposed to image and diagnose and grade drill? Well, the first requirement would be that we must have good quality images on an SD-OCT, which is essential. And then we measure the drill in the central 1 mm foveal area, and more than 20 microns is taken as present. 7 B scans are evaluated, 3 above and 3 below the scan, passing through the foveal center, and then an average is taken of the grading in each of these 7 scans. Now, one important thing again for all of us to remember is that the loss of the foveal contour does not constitute drill. So you may have a normal foveal contour and still the drill may be present. I will be showing you a representative case which will be telling us how to interpret. So this is a simple scan where we have a NPDR patient. You see no DME and there's absolutely no presence of drill. All the retinal boundaries, retinal layer boundaries are very well defined and they are all very much well delineated. Well, moving on to the second image, you have a gross diabetic macular edema and you also have the presence of drill. When you see in this particular area, there is absolutely no boundaries within the retinal layers that we can see. Now, in this image, you have again a gross diabetic macular edema, but all the retinal layers are very well demarcated. So we say that there is absolutely no presence of drill. And in this image, we have an epiretinal membrane. You have diabetic macular edema. And again, there is a gross loss of the architecture of the retinal layers. So a gross drill is present. Again, this patient, a gross CME, but even after the presence of a gross CME, there is no drill because the layers are very well demarcated. While in this particular image, you have a gross CME and you also have drill where the demarcation lines are lost. This is one of my patients whom we started treating with a vision of 660 N60, treated with 6 anti-VEGF injections, and the vision just didn't seem to improve beyond 636. And what you see is that the diabetic macular edema is completely resolved. You have a normal foveal contour, but still the vision has not improved. And the reason being, you are hardly able to delineate the various boundaries between the retinal layers. So coming to the clinical significance, we have to understand that there is a time to onset of drill from the time of development of CNP areas. And OCT-A detects retinal microcirculation impairment in the macula far before the drill is detected on OCT-B. It is a predictive biomarker for visual acuity and is also useful for stratification of eyes with regard to a high likelihood of future visual acuity improvement or decline. Reversibility potential of drill declines with the duration of drill. So this is something important, and especially with respect to the intervention time. When we come to drill in DME, the first study which was done correlated it with worse visual acuity and had a prognostic value in DME. And it said that each 300 microns of drill increase within the central 1 mm area of the fovea from baseline to 4 months reduced the visual acuity by 1 line at 8 months compared to baseline. A paradoxical visual acuity change exceeding 1 line at 8 months was never observed in eyes with an absolute change in drill extent of greater than 500 microns. And what is again important for us to understand is that there's a threshold of drill worsening which exists beyond which eyes are likely to lose vision, and this may impact the timing of the therapeutic intervention. I'll just take a minute more, please. Larger FSZ size, again in the superficial plexus, and full retinal projection in patients with drill correlates better with lower visual acuity, but no correlation has been found between deep capillary plexus, FSZ size, and visual acuity. And this is again interesting because DR changes are primarily confined to the deep capillary plexus. So what this study has interpreted that in a retinal pathology such as RVO, the drill correlates better with the visual acuity, but changes in DR apparently don't correlate so well with the visual acuity recovery. 4 distinct patterns of drill resolution have been seen in DME. We have early resolvers where the eyes are having a resolution of more than 50% of the baseline drill length and first or second visit, and they remain stable or improve. We have late resolvers where the eyes with resolution of more than 50% drill length in third or the fourth visit, and again they remain stable and improve. We have inconsistent responders who are eyes with resolution of more than 50% of the baseline drill length at any point of time with subsequent recurrence, and a persistent eyes which never showed a more than 50% resolution of drill from baseline and despite the resolution of the diabetic macular edema. Now, what is the clinical significance when we see all these various resolution patterns of drill? So what we need to understand that eyes with early or a late resolution of drill show more visual improvement at 8 months. Persistent or inconsistent drill eyes show higher drill length, total cyst area, and subfoveal thickness in comparison to the resolvers, and therefore show more worsening of vision. Eyes with higher baseline drill more often are non-resolvers, and the greatest visual improvement is seen in eyes which don't have drill at baseline. So again, I've already told you that drill correlates very well with visual acuity recovery in RVO, and a reduction in drill at 4 months and 8 months correlates with visual acuity improvement at 8 months. But what is important for us to understand is that even though the patients don't show reduction in drill, following the treatment, they may still have a delayed response to treatment and therefore may benefit just 2-3 slides there, Ritesh, from continued therapy, and treatment should not be stopped. Again, in inflammatory CME, the drill does not correlate and it responds very well. I will again conclude by saying that drill is a predictive biomarker of visual acuity independent of central retinal thickness in eyes with central involving DME. Change in drill is a valuable and easily obtainable non-invasive biomarker that is applicable to clinical care. The development of drill should be considered in the timing of therapeutic intervention given the reversibility potential of drill. However, the limitation is that the image quality must be adequate to assess the retinal layer boundaries. And in future, algorithms for automated drill grading and quantification of change would make it easier to use drill as a biomarker for clinical application. Thank you.